Imagine two peoples tied to the same small stretch of land, each believing it to be their ancient home. Imagine a century of promises made and broken, wars fought, walls built, and peace plans drafted, yet no final peace achieved. Why does this conflict persist when so many others have ended? What makes it so complex that even world leaders can't solve it? In this video, we're going to break down the Israel-Palestine conflict, how it began, why it's so hard to resolve, and what's happening today. By the end, you'll have a clearer understanding of one of the most debated struggles in modern history. The geography and the stakes. The region at the center of this conflict is roughly the size of New Jersey or Wales. It lies on the eastern shore of the Mediterranean Sea, bridging Africa and Asia. For Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike, this land holds sacred meaning: Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Hebron, and countless other sites. Historically known as Palestine under the Ottoman Empire and later under the British Mandate, this land has been home to Arab Muslims, Christians, Jews, and others for centuries. But the rise of nationalism in the 19th and early 20th centuries, both Jewish and Arab, transformed long-standing communities into rival national movements. Early roots: Zionism and Arab nationalism. In the late 1800s, as pogroms and anti-Semitic laws spread across Europe, a political movement called Zionism emerged. Its goal: to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine, then part of the Ottoman Empire. Small Jewish communities already existed there, but new waves of immigration began. At the same time, Arab nationalism was also awakening. Arabs in Palestine, like Arabs across the Ottoman lands, sought independence. They worried that mass Jewish immigration threatened their majority status and their future in their own homeland. World War I accelerated these tensions. The Ottoman Empire collapsed, and Britain took control of Palestine under a League of Nations mandate. During the war, Britain had made conflicting promises to support an Arab state via the Hussein-McMahon Correspondence and to back a national home for the Jewish people via the 1917 Balfour Declaration. These contradictory pledges sowed seeds of mistrust. The British Mandate era, 1920 to 1948. During the British Mandate, Jewish immigration increased sharply, especially as Jews fled Nazi persecution. By the 1930s, clashes erupted between Arabs and Jews. The 1936 to 1939 Arab Revolt was a major uprising against both British rule and Jewish immigration. Britain tried to manage the conflict with partition proposals, but nothing satisfied both sides. After World War II and the Holocaust, global sympathy for Jews surged. Hundreds of thousands of Holocaust survivors were displaced, and Zionist pressure for a state of their own intensified. Meanwhile, Palestinian Arabs opposed partition and feared losing their land. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a partition plan: 2 states, 1 Jewish and 1 Arab, with Jerusalem under international control. Jewish leaders accepted the plan. Arab leaders rejected it, arguing it violated the rights of the Arab majority. The 1948 War, birth of Israel, Nakba for Palestinians. On May 14, 1948, Jewish leaders declared the independence of the State of Israel. The next day, armies from Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq invaded. This war ended in an Israeli victory, but it also created a massive refugee crisis. About 700,000 Palestinian Arabs fled or were expelled from their homes, an event Palestinians call the Nakba catastrophe. Israel ended up with more territory than the UN plan had allotted. Jordan took control of the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and Egypt controlled the Gaza Strip. Palestinians had no state of their own. This was the defining trauma for Palestinians and the foundational victory for Israelis. 2 national narratives were set in stone. For Israelis, the miraculous rebirth of their ancient homeland; for Palestinians, dispossession and statelessness. The 1967 war, occupation begins. Tensions never disappeared. In June 1967, after a buildup of hostilities, Israel launched a preemptive strike against Egypt and Syria. In 6 days, Israel captured the West Bank, East Jerusalem, Gaza, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. For Palestinians, this meant the entire remainder of their homeland was now under Israeli military occupation. For Israelis, the victory felt like survival and the chance to reunite Jerusalem under their control. But it also brought the dilemma of ruling over another people without granting them citizenship. The UN passed Resolution 242, calling for Israel to withdraw from territories occupied in 1967 in exchange for peace. This became the basis of the Land for Peace formula, but implementation has been elusive ever since. Palestinian nationalism reorganizes the PLO. By the late 1960s, Palestinians realized Arab states would not liberate their land for them. The Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, led by Yasser Arafat, became the main voice of Palestinian nationalism. Initially committed to armed struggle and rejecting Israel's existence, the PLO carried out guerrilla attacks and hijackings. Israel responded with military operations in neighboring countries. The Second Intifada and the Gaza disengagement. The Second Intifada, 2000 to 2005, was far deadlier than the first. Suicide bombings in Israeli cities and heavy Israeli military operations in the West Bank left thousands dead. The Israeli public lost faith in negotiations. Palestinians lost hope in statehood. In 2005, Israel unilaterally withdrew its settlers and soldiers from Gaza, but maintained control of its borders, airspace, and sea access. The following year, Hamas won Palestinian elections and later seized control of Gaza from the Palestinian Authority. Since then, the West Bank has been run by the PA, dominated by Fatah, and Gaza by Hamas, splitting Palestinian leadership. Wars in Gaza and ongoing blockade. Since Hamas took over Gaza, Israel and Hamas have fought multiple wars in 2008 to 2009, 2012, 2014, and more recent escalations. Each round leaves heavy civilian casualties, especially in Gaza, which is under an Israeli-Egyptian blockade. Hamas fires rockets into Israel. Israel launches airstrikes and ground operations. Civilians on both sides live in fear. International efforts to rebuild Gaza and broker long-term ceasefires have repeatedly stalled. Meanwhile, in the West Bank, settlement expansion continues, and checkpoints restrict Palestinian movement. Trust between the two peoples is at a historic low. The region remains volatile. Periodic escalations in Gaza, clashes in Jerusalem, and unrest in the West Bank continue to make headlines. Yet despite everything, many Israelis and Palestinians still work quietly for coexistence. Grassroots groups, joint businesses, and peace activists trying to keep hope alive. Why understanding this conflict matters? You might wonder, with so many conflicts in the world, why does this one get so much attention? First, it involves holy sites sacred to billions. Second, it has drawn in global powers for decades, shaping Middle Eastern politics. Third, it's a test case for whether deeply rooted ethno-national and religious conflicts can be resolved peacefully. Understanding the Israel-Palestine conflict isn't about taking sides. It's about seeing the human beings on both sides, their fears, their aspirations, and their history. The Israel-Palestine conflict is not an ancient blood feud. It's a modern political struggle between two peoples with legitimate claims and deep grievances. It has been shaped by colonialism, nationalism, wars, and missed opportunities for peace. There are no easy answers. But understanding the history, the land, the wars, the negotiations, the people, makes it clearer why this conflict still matters today. And perhaps by learning, we can also imagine a different future where Israelis and Palestinians live with security, dignity, and mutual recognition.